There he is. Shit. There's Mr. Vellner.
What's up?
I don't
Got a
think
lot
we
of
can hear
back.
you, Pat. You see
Can
you're
you
ringing
not?
with the dude, though. No surprise there. There he is.
Can you hear me now?
There's Mr. Vellner.
What's up? Hello.
I don't
Got a
think we
lot
can
of
hear
back.
you, Pat. You see
Okay,
you're ringing
now
with the dude, though.
I
No
got a lot of
surprise there. There he
background
is.
sound. Can you hear me now? I don't
Pat,
know
can you
whose
hear us?
side
I
that's
can't
on.
hear Pat. Can you guys
There we
hear
go.
anyone?
What's up?
Brian,
Hello.
can you say
Got a lot
something
of
so I can
back.
see if I can hear you? You see
Okay,
you're
now
ringing
Yeah,
with the
I can
dude,
hear
though.
I got
Pat.
a lot of
Surprise there.
background.
I can't hear
Brian.
anyone.
Can you hear me now?
Pat, can you hear us?
Side
I
that's
can't
on.
hear Pat.
The background noise
Can you
was
guys
There we
Ryan,
go.
but he's
What's up?
muted now.
Okay.
Brian, can
Hello.
you say
Got a lot
something
of
so I can see if
background.
I can hear you?
Did you put?
See,
Yeah, I can hear
I got a
Pat
lot of
V,
background.
just in
Brian.
case we weren't
Can
sure
you
if
hear
it
me
was
now?
Vellner or
Whose
Venier.
side that's on?
The background noise was
What is
Ryan.
it? What was
but
it when we were in
he's
Dubai?
audible now.
Burl?
Brian, can you say
Burl?
something?
Yeah, it's always
Something like
something new.
that. I feel like I've had Vellner with an M before. Just make it easy on people. I don't know.
But no haircut yet?
No, I did get a haircut. Oh, that hurts.
No, I can't see your hair.
You can't see
Back
it.
up. Yeah, your head's cut off on my camera. Oh,
Oh,
there it is. There it is.
I feel like.
Did you
You
get
see,
the haircut
should I
there?
show you the back? Show you the back?
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice.
No, I got it just before I left.
That's a Canadian stylist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Local Vancouver Island.
do you have a regular person you go to?
Yeah, just someone at their house up the road from me, pretty much. Keep it easy.
You should have got a haircut in the States. So like you would fit in with the local look.
What did you just ask for the special?
Yeah, the Madison special.
What is the local look? I'm not sure what the local flavor is.
You would look like a block of cheese.
Oh, nice.
Pat,
I already kind of do, I think.
do you want to start with like some formalities or just dig in?
Oh, I don't care. It's your show.
Oh, good. You're so easy. We'll start with a quick formality, even though I don't like formalities. But this is sincere. Thanks for doing this. I know this is weird to ask CrossFit Games athletes in the middle of the competition to sit down and do an interview, but it's all we got. It's all we got.
That's all good. It's pretty easy. We got a day off today, so I got nothing else to do. I did a little bit of exercise this morning and did some stretching, so now I'm pretty much doing nothing for the rest of the day.
Are you a fan
Not
of
that
the
this is
off-
nothing. Not that this is nothing.
This is nothing. This is nothing.
Are you a fan of the off day during the games?
Oh, Brian, best day of the CrossFit Games.
Seriously, you do like the off day?
Yeah, I think it's nice. I think it's nice too because, like, say last night I kind of stayed up a little later and had dinner with my folks and got to hang out with Michelle and the baby and stuff a little longer. And it's like you don't feel as guilty or stressed about that. So it is tough when people come out to see you compete and you kind of have to lock yourself away. And especially yesterday being an off-site day for the start. And we had 5 call times, and if you count the opening ceremonies, and then tomorrow will be the same. We have 5 events on the schedule tomorrow, so it's busy. You don't see people all day, so having that off day does give you a chance to kind of see people and just actually kind of enjoy it for a little bit and have a night of less stress. It's nice to be focused, but I think it's hard to just stay on for 5 days straight. So it sort of gives you a period of grace where you can do that and, like I said, not feel like you're not doing everything you can by relaxing a little bit.
Is that your nanny in the background?
It's just the housekeeper for the hotel.
Oh, I got you.
The timing was perfect.
Are you staying alone or are you staying with your wife and kids?
I have a separate room, and then we have another room that my parents and Michelle and the baby are in. That's next door, basically.
And do you pay for your own room, or does CrossFit pay for your rooms?
I pay for the rooms.
Okay, noted.
One day, maybe one day.
Do they pay for any of the athletes' rooms?
No.
I was trying to figure
Depends
out.
if you count semifinal prize money, I guess.
No, you don't count that.
There you go.
I'm trying to figure out who's cooler, you or Nick of Time.
Nick of Time.
It's a guy who just gave us $5 for interviewing you. I swear to God, I just saw it pop up on YouTube.
Oh, really?
$5. Yeah, that's awesome.
He gave you $5 for interviewing me?
Yeah. I like it better when I say it. I don't like it when you say it.
He sounds like he's cooler than me then.
Why?
Sounds like I should be thanking him.
What? We'll split it with you. We'll send you 250.
Nice. I can use it for the laundry money.
Why do this podcast? Like I was trying to ask myself that question this morning, and like why Brian and I are doing this. I guess I get off on just like staying relevant. It's all I've known for the last 15 years. I've kind of taken a break from the game from the last 3 years. I do like podcasting. I definitely like talking to people and picking people's brains and kind of going deep with people. But why would you do this? Why would you jump on with us? You have your own mindset. You're supposed to be, in your game time.
Well, first of all, I like that you have a pretty honest self-assessment. I think that's awesome. I don't know.
Is that the real nanny right behind you?
Yeah, that's Michelle and the baby.
Hey, girl. Oh, nice hair.
He says nice hair. She can't hear you.
Oh.
I don't know. For me, doing stuff like this is kind of fun. It's part of the fun part of being at the games. Like I said, it's hard to be just like in a killer mindset all week long, like for 5 days straight. I think that if you walk around with your shoulders up all week long, it actually is exhausting. So finding the times where you can relax and just sort of like let your guard down for a little bit, I think is beneficial for me as an athlete. I think in general, most people will probably tell you they compete better when they're relaxed. Sometimes those really stressful situations can just get to you, or being stressed nonstop for 5 days is going to eat you up. Like you probably won't sleep great. You might not, deal with other things well. So I think it's nice to be able to do this kind of stuff. And it's just kind of the fun part, like being here. I'm not going to lie to you. Like doing some of those workouts isn't the most fun all the time. It's fun when you finish, but sometimes it's nice to find the other stuff that's actually really enjoyable. So these are the things. And I think it's part of our responsibility almost as athletes who have kind of become public figures in the space, that especially right now where there's, there's a lot of people wandering around the venues, and I'm a little less likely right now to stop and take a bunch of photos with people just because of concerns with like COVID and whatever. Like I got to get home still. And I need to have a negative test, Saturday in order to get home. So it's another way that you can kind of give your time to the community without maybe getting swamped by people.
Did you go to Vendor Village today?
No, I haven't been in Vendor Village ever in Madison since we've ever started here.
Oh,
we were I was over there a little earlier. I did see one of your competitors wandering around the Vendor Village. I thought it was kind of surprising, actually, especially given what you just said about just the precautions and stuff. You don't want to.
Who was it?
Yorgos Karavis.
Okay.
George.
Yeah. Okay. It's I don't know. It's kind of weird. And this, I don't want this to sound the wrong way, but like, I think in my first year at the games, I went to the Vendor Village in Carson, and it was fine because like I was a ghost. Like nobody knew who I was or cared, and I could walk right by people. But that's just simply not the case anymore. So it's challenging enough. Some days in the warm-up area when all the age groups and teams and people are there, you're trying to go do something and people will stop you and ask questions or whatever. And everyone's super well-intentioned and it's nice. And I'm happy to give my time when I have it, but it's hard. I think in the Vendor Village, it could take you an hour to move, 100 meters if you aren't careful. So that's just kind of the risk. And I think that we just try to avoid it, because if I need something from there, I can probably send somebody to go grab it. Like either, my coach or somebody is happy to go run and do that, because they can typically run in and out a lot faster than I would. And it's hard. You don't want to look like a dick by like running through and being like, oh, sorry, I don't have time, and turning everyone down when they ask for a photo or an autograph. Like, again, I generally like to give my time when I can, but sometimes it's just not the time. So I think avoiding those situations when you can is prudent.
I don't want to shit on your simile, but I think you meant to say in your first year you were the invisible man, because you still look like a ghost.
Right.
You're from Canada.
There you go.
But anyway.
Are there actually times during the competition where there is something that you need from Vendor Village? Like, what would an example of that be?
Well, so yesterday we went to the ocean or the lake in the morning, and before we left, I had turf shoes for event 2, but they weren't the shoes that would be eligible for the Reebok bonus. So I sent Michelle, my coach, after the swim was done. I just said, like, hey, can you go to the WIT tent, pick up a pair of the like Reebok Adventure Nano 11s or whatever they were that have a little bit of a deeper tread, but they're still the Nanos. Because I want to wear them in event 2 because I think I can win it. And so I did. She did, and then I did, and now I got a bonus. But I couldn't. Our turnaround was tight all day yesterday, so it would have been hard for me to run and do that. So there's not a lot of situations like that, but occasionally something might pop up, and it's nice to not have to go do that myself, I guess.
That's awesome that you did that. What a fucking great story. Had you worn those shoes before, and if you would have put them on and they would have felt uncomfortable, would you still rock them for the 10K?
I hadn't worn them before. So I basically just put them on right before we started that event.
They look good. They look brand new. I was like, oh man, those shoes look nice. I wonder if he had them specialty. Turns out he did.
Yeah, they were fast right out of the box. I had to cut the tag off right before the event. But if they were really uncomfortable, I probably wouldn't have. Like, I had my other shoes with me, but sometimes those turf shoes are just a little bit uncomfortable, and you have to deal with a little bit of discomfort for a short event, and that's fine. It wasn't going to be a super long event. If they were really stiff, I might not have worn them, just because coming up and down off the bars and off the rings and landing on your feet might have hurt my feet a bit. But I don't know. I was trying not to be a wuss, and I'm glad I wasn't.
Aren't you a Reebok athlete?
Yeah.
I would just picture like that they would have had, like, you get your hotel room and they have like 20 pairs of shoes for you. With a
well, they have some.
Get some Pat, or we're not re-signing you. Something like that. Something motivational.
It's interesting because we're in we're in the Noble Games now, right? So I think I maybe took for granted what it's like to have your sponsor the event in previous years, and how everything fits and everything's really readily available for you. But Reebok doesn't even have a tent at the games this year, so they're kind of operating in the wings. They've got a trailer in the campsite. They've got some trucks rolling around giving out stuff. But if you need things, we have reps around that are happy to kind of go for you and get things. But it's not as quick a turnaround as it might have been in previous years. So you got to be a little more organized. And I wasn't on the ball leading into day one, and I should have been more. And I kind of just thought, I'll just do it in my Nanos. And then I feel like at night, or I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know what, I might want a little bit more tread than I have on my Nanos. So it was lucky I was able to go do that. But they have supply around. It's more limited than it's been in previous years, so you got to be on top of it if you want stuff. And but they're around. They're just they're working in the shadows.
Yeah, normally they had like a 20,000, I don't know, I'm making that up, but they had the biggest booth at the games, 20,000 square feet, 40,000 square feet. I mean, it was crazy. It was a full-on massive store. And I totally get your point. It's got to be quite the shift. And I haven't personally worn the Nobles. Have you worn any of the Nobles yet?
We put them on at check-in. We thought we had to wear them for the opening ceremonies, but as it turns out, we didn't. So I haven't really worn any of them. I put them on my feet at check-in, but that's it.
Do you have wide feet?
A little bit, not too bad. I know some people are pretty wide. I'm not terrible.
Yeah, that's why I like the Nanos. Most of the Nanos are wide. The Nano 2s have just completely spoiled me. Thank God I have 20 pair.
Yeah, wide in the toe, in the front.
Yeah, wide in the toe. I've heard the Nobles and the Metcons are narrow, and I got really wide feet, and my toes aren't all squished together. Like I didn't do the Japanese binding, so like most of the Americans do. Isn't that funky that they teach you that, like in the 3rd or 4th grade? Like they're like, and the Japanese people used to bind their feet, and we're all sitting in class with our feet bound, thinking that it's weird that they did that.
You know what? I think if you dig deep enough, you probably don't even have to dig that deep. There's probably some weird stuff that we did in North America in the early days that you don't like either.
Right. Pat, Michael Wright just gave us $4.99 for interviewing you, and I want to tell you I'm feeling a little less generous now that I know that you won the $10,000 from that first event. I know you earned it. But I think Brian and I are going to split that one between us, if you don't mind.
That's all right, man. I thought it was $5. You're already down a cent.
Yeah, this guy's cheaper than the last guy. $4.99.
The man, it's tax.
Pat, you said not all of the events are fun. What was the most fun event for you yesterday, and what was the least fun event?
I think the muscle up one was the least fun event.
Oh, the one you won.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember thinking while we were doing it, like the muscle ups. I thought it was a muscle up workout until I like got to the sled at the way back, and I was like, I finished the sled, and I was like, Jesus. And that at that point we had about an hour turnaround before we had to do the sprint. So as soon as we finished, I was like, man, I have no idea how I'm gonna run. Like I couldn't even stand for like 3 minutes after I finished that event. So that was like kind of miserable. Like that kind of grunt work just sucks. Like, and even with once you got to the pig flips and things, you were just like, you wanted to go, but it's a lot of grunt work, and you were just tired, and you could kind of keep trucking, but you didn't want to. And then I don't know, the most fun. I mean, personally, I probably had the most fun on the sprint because I outran my expectations on that one. So I think it always feels good to do that. Like I think looking at the muscle up workout, I knew that was a pretty good workout for me. But the sprint, I was kind of like, that's such a toss up. Like it's such a fast event that, a second or two could cost you 10 places really fast. And so I was really happy that I executed well on that. And I was very aggressive, more so than I usually would be. But it paid off. So I think that was a fun one. It was like done in the blink of an eye, and it was nice when it goes well. The last one was fun. It was fun to be back in the Coliseum, but I feel like the sprint was cool.
Were the top 3 sprinting times on the men's all from the same heat?
Top 5.
The top 5 were all in the same heat. Wow.
Yeah, they're all from our heat. I think it was.
Did you guys just get the luck of the draw there?
I was like, when we were lining up, I didn't really look at the heat closely. I just knew I saw it was heat 3. And then when we were lining up, they call you to the line like 5 minutes or like 3 minutes before you started. And we were like, it was like me, and I didn't know Guy was as fast as he was, and he was awesome. But I knew obviously we had Will and Saxon, who are both quick and did very well in the sprints the years that we've had those. And
Andre Houdet, I knew that he was a good runner, but I didn't know if he was a good sprinter or not.
Yeah, so, and we had the other guys we had that I wasn't sure how good they'd be. Like we had Cole Sager, and I wasn't sure how he'd be for that kind of distance, but he's an aggressive guy.
Right.
And I think he's someone who's not afraid to like body position someone. So looking at that, and even other guys, like we had like Alex Caron and like Royce Dunn and like some big guys that it was like, you don't want to get caught behind those bodies because it's going to make it really tough on you. So I knew he had fast guys, and I knew you didn't want to get pinned in behind any of the big guys. So I was like, I just decided I was going to be really aggressive and run the first like 100 quite fast and get out in a lead pack and try to not get caught behind anyone. And then just like hang on, like try to pick a pace early that's fast and aggressive, and then hang on till the end. And I was running out of gas at the end. Like had there been another 10, 20 meters, like Saxon would have for sure passed me. Like I towed him out, but he was coming on strong. And Will just got me in the end, but I was fading by the end for sure. So I just went for the fly and die approach.
I called it the wall of meat. Like if you got stuck behind the wall of meat, I mean Cole was toast from the beginning. He got stuck behind the wall of meat, and then there's just no way. It's just shoulder to shoulder. It's almost like it looks like almost like a Chippendale dance the way that these shirtless guys are running at you, and it's just like there's no like you're gonna have to exchange bodily fluid if you pass someone. I mean, it was crazy.
It definitely, that was obvious. I think I watched the first couple heats start, and then you could see the scoreboard from where we were. So you could kind of see the first stretch and see who was like leading. And then in about a minute, you'd see who won and who the top 2 or 3 in that heat was. And it seemed pretty consistently that the people who came out fast and were in the lead in the opening stretch would hang on to be, first or second in their heats. So there was very little exchange after the first corner, it seemed like, from the first couple heats. So I was just like, hey, it's hard to convince yourself in a 500-meter race to go as fast as you can in the first 150. It doesn't sound like a good strategy, but it felt like the right move. And it turns out it was.
Did you talk to Brent Fikowski after that one? Because I was pretty curious about the little exchange you had with BKG towards the end.
That he had with BKG?
Yeah, BKG I think came up behind him and just gave him a little elbow and shoulder and ended up passing him by in the last stretch.
Oh, I didn't really see it. He mentioned it in passing that somebody did that and that there was a lot of like jostling in the last, like once they're on the turf. But no, I don't think there was anything sinister there. But I did the same thing to Guy on the way around the last corner. I tried to like cut him off a little bit, and then he just was clearly a better sprinter than me, and he had another gear that I didn't. So at the end, I was like, "Hey, sorry about that. You're a better runner than me."
Matt, Brian, the thing is, and maybe this isn't fair to say, but I think it is. Fikowski is such a big guy. It's like in basketball. If you're a big guy, more guys are going to lean on you. And then on top of that, BKG had such a dominant performance that a little shoving. When you shove a guy, you better really run past him fast. That being said, Pat's performance on that really screams what you've been saying all along about Pat. I mean, I'd like to see that race again and see if Pat beats Guy. They finished so close, and what we're seeing here is a guy that people did not expect to do well on the sprint. He lined up there. You look like you're made to resist the wind, Pat. You look like you have nothing aerodynamic about you, and yet you fucking pulled off an incredible event. I also want to go back to event number 2. You didn't just win that event; you decimated the pack. There is some. This is very Fraser-esque, and the next 5 places after you had a wider spread than your spread between first and second place on the second event. So, I mean, clearly these are more than just signs of a champion. This is you're ready. You are truly ready.
Well, there's a long way to go, and I still have a hole that I'm climbing out of that I put myself in at the start of the weekend. But it's a good. I'm happy with the trajectory after event 1. That's for sure. The last event was like, I'm fine. I think I would have liked to have taken like a top 5, but not quite there. But I think I can consistently put up more performances like that, and I should be back on the tracks in no time. But you're not the first person to tell me that about my running. So a few people have told me that. They're like, you don't look like you're fast.
You killed it.
Like when you're running, you don't look like you should be fast, but you just are. I was like, well, thank you.
Well, and you looked good. You looked good. Your arms weren't all over the place. I mean, you looked good, but just at the lineup, I think even the commentators were like, there was some tension around that because people do want to see you do well. People do have high expectations for you. And like you could feel it in my house as I'm watching it on the 90-inch. Oh shit. Poor Pat. Like this is a box that's going to be running next to some, more svelte, but you fucking killed it and you looked great. And you looked a little more lean. You look a little more lean and ripped than normal.
Oh, thanks. It's probably because we didn't have time to eat yesterday, but
if I took a picture of you and then just turned up the sharpening a little bit, you'd look like an underwear model.
Yeah, you gotta get the contrast going. I think I'm hard to light well, so you might have just seen something in good lighting.
Pat, what do you think about people who wear a suit and tie in their like avatar photos, in their profile photos, like on Instagram, or does that give you a different, like, how some people like, I don't know what you have. You probably have, or just like in a t-shirt, and Brian and I are probably in t-shirts, but like, what do you think about the guys who are doing the suit and tie look?
I think in my Facebook, I'm wearing a shirt and tie.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Because I got some gala with Michelle, I think, but I don't know. I mean, it depends what you do. Like, it depends what your profile is for. Like on my social media, which is primarily like an athletic account, that's sort of the image I'm going to put out, right? If you're a lawyer, like maybe that's the image you want to put out, right? So I have lots of friends who are like lawyers or professionals, and they present a little more clean cut version of themselves than maybe I know.
Like your wife would wear one of those white coats and a stethoscope in hers.
Maybe she probably has one of those kicking around. I don't know what she has up right now, but either that or scrubs.
I asked because Adam Drew just gave us $10 for this podcast, and he's wearing a suit and tie in his profile pic, and normally
sounds like a professional.
Yeah, good dude. That's probably he doubled down on the amount of money the rest of the people gave.
Yeah,
because he's got more money because he wears a suit and tie.
Maybe. I don't know. I wouldn't say it sways my opinion one way or the other, really.
You had that 35th place, and then you have a first, a third, and a 7th. If you hadn't have dug out of the hole as well as you did, standing in 5th place now with a pretty tight race, would you not enjoy this day off as much as you probably are?
Probably. I think I'd be a little more stressed. I think that I would probably feel like I wished I could be doing something actively to be digging myself out further. So it would be like you'd be chomping at the bit to get back started because like I want to do another event now and like start to erase that points deficit. But the fact that I've erased the most of it is good, and like I feel a little bit more. And also it gives you confidence. Like nobody likes to crash and burn in an event, and it makes you question like, oh shit, like am I as prepared as I thought I was? And then being able to follow that up with a few solid performances, it's like, okay, I am where I need to be or should be. And it's all good. Like you can chill, you can relax. So that takes the edge off a little bit. You're a little less stressed for sure. And I think I was talking with my coach yesterday about it, and it's this exact same actually as when in 2018, I was 36th, I think, in the crit race after I crashed. And that day we had 4 events. We had the muscle ups and the total and the marathon row. And it's almost the exact same day. I crashed and burned on event 1. And then I think in my muscle ups was like a 7th place or something like that. Basically what I did on the last event today. I took a 2nd on the total, which was like outperforming my expectations. And then I think I took a 5th on the marathon row. So like a very similar scoring trajectory for the day. And then yesterday I was like 35th, 1st, 3rd, 7th. So, and that year I came back to finish 2nd. So I think that it's fine. I've, as much as I hate that I do it all the time, I know that I can do that. And I've proven that it's fine. And I can sort of right the ship and keep trucking forward. So I don't know. I think that it's nice to have that in the back of your head and know that you can do it, but it's definitely a lot nicer when you've already done a lot of that work. And now I feel like I'm more or less back to a level playing field, and I can almost just zero out that first day and then start moving forward.
When you come out of the water for the swim, do you know what place you're in? Does someone say, Pat, you're in 12th or anything like that?
No. And the swim, I wasn't crazy on the swim. I actually tried to be pretty conservative on the swim, because in the past in those events, like when we did the swim, paddle, run, I'm just like I'm not the best swimmer for sure. So I think that year I came out of the swim in like 30th ish, and then I made up a lot of ground on the paddle, and passed up like 7 people on the paddle and a couple people on the run. And then I kind of expected it to be similar. So I figured like be a little conservative and save your arms a bit in the swim. And then on the paddle, you'll have to just start to pick people off. And I struggled on the paddle a lot more than I thought I would. I couldn't get any speed. I felt like no matter what I was doing with my stroke, I had one speed. So it was frustrating, and it was a long paddle to be frustrated on. So it was difficult to finish that event and know like, fuck, I just gave up 5-6 places on the paddle where I expected to make up ground. And, now I've got like a bottom 5 finish, and now I've got to like try to get my shit together here for the next event that starts in like an hour. So it was, I don't know, it was a bit dark there for a little bit, but, that's why I think I needed to be aggressive on the second event, was to like start that comeback, and I wasn't going to wait around for it. Like I knew that I needed to get points now. So that event I started quite aggressively, and I kind of expected people to be a little bit faster on the muscle ups. So I was happy that everybody was clearly at least as tired as I was when we got back to the rings. So, it was good. I'm glad it worked out. And it's nice when that's the draw. Like if I'm going to have a bad event, it's nice when the events are random, and it's nice when the next one's one that allows you to rebound well and give you some momentum back, because it matters. Like if you're down on yourself for 3 events, that's tough. But if you can start to just generate good momentum, I think that, having a lot of success on event 2 probably helped me be a little more confident to be aggressive in event 3, which is what I needed to do. And then, I think by the evening I was like comfortable and back to a place where I was like, all right, you just need to be controlled again, and compete smart. So yeah, I don't know. It wasn't great.
Was there you were in the kayak for, let's say, an hour. Is that fair to say?
a little less than that, but it was long for sure. The total event time was like, I don't know. I think the fastest time was maybe like an hour 10. I think I got in at like an hour 18 or 19.
Okay. Was it there? So you're saying that in that basic hour of the kayak paddle, there was never like a time where like there weren't like minutes where you're like, oh my God, I'm gliding, or holy shit, I'm in the zone. You're saying the whole thing was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
like,
I had trouble. Like I felt like I felt like I was just plowing water. Like I really had trouble getting like a good glide and a good smooth paddle. Like I don't know. It was like I said, very frustrating. And I tried a bunch of different things to change my stroke. I know some people who are competitive paddlers, and I got some good tips before, and I don't know, couldn't put it together, and it was very frustrating. I feel like for the first 20 minutes, you're like trying to figure it out. The next 20 minutes, you're like, I don't get it. And then by the end, I was like, you just need to like just get done and then start to move on, because it's just like it was clear at a certain point that I wasn't going to suddenly figure it out and start to just like put the turbo boosters on. So yeah, it's tough to see that, and also it's tough to see that and have to have that reality exist in like for like the next 30 minutes and just be like, oh, okay, fuck, like I'm giving up ground, and it's a slow event on the paddle. Like even when you're getting past, everything happens really slow. Like nobody flies by. It's this like slow drift, and everyone's like, how you doing?
So it's painful when people pass you. You're going 4 miles an hour and they're going 4.5 miles an hour, and there's nothing you can do about it. You're like,
basically.
oh, nice hair tie, Reagan Huckabee. Oh my God, I didn't realize your traps were so big, Fikowski. And like, you're like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so it was frustrating for sure. Like that was the biggest challenge of it, was like trying to just be cool with it and be like, look, at a certain point it was clear it wasn't going well and it wasn't going to magically change. And then it was like, how do I start to regroup for the next one? I need to get to the end and still try to give up as few spots as possible. But, you know, it's like you're here we go again, basically, right?
It reminds me of bumper cars at the fair. You know, like those ones that they have like the steel pole that touches the ceiling.
Yeah.
And like you have a direct hit on someone and you have it floored and you're coming from 20 feet away, but you like you're still only hit him at 4 miles an hour. You're like, dude, if you would have just given me 7 miles an hour, I'd lifted his cart up, you know?
Yeah.
There's
so that's what it felt like. It was a slow motion. It was a slow motion paddle. That's for sure.
And so those 3 events, and the reason why I ask about the day off and how it's going for you, because you did show some great success in the last 3 events, is we were talking to some other athletes, Brian specifically, and he was telling me this one other athlete who's not doing as well as you said to him, hey, this day off is just brutal. Like, I wish I could just get it. I like, they want to get back in there right away and prove something, right? And that may have something to do with the fact that you're a veteran also.
It's funny. I always joke that I'm like the laziest games athlete back there. I was like all day I was just like, oh, you guys excited for your day off? Like, best day of the games. But I think you're totally right. And I think it depends on, like I kind of said that earlier, like if you would want to start to do something to put that comeback in motion, like how do I start to erase that deficit? So you definitely feel like you're, you know, a duck on a pond. Like you have to you're sitting still in your room, but like things are turning and you're like, you want to figure out like how to make this go forward. And there's nothing you can do today. Right. So that's a stressful way to exist for a day. And the best thing you can do is just appreciate the fact that it's a day off, like it or not, take care of your body, do the things you need to do, and then be ready for tomorrow to go for it. But I totally, like, I think I would be in that exact same mindset if I was, you know, still in 20th after that. I'd still feel like, man, I've got a long way to go and I want to start doing it.
It would suck if you were below 30th. The first event too, the really shitty part about it is, well, also because of the tremendous comeback you have to make, but you're below the first cut line. So that's got to give you at least some reprieve, right? That it's like, holy shit, at least I'm now above both cuts. I mean, I know there's still a lot of events tomorrow, but that the guy who's in last place is tripping, I'm sure. Who is that? Let's see who's in last place. Because, I mean, his shit, like, he knows his days are numbered.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't really thought much about the cuts.
Zach Watts, poor Zach Watts.
Especially after my my first event. I'm confident that I would be able to get back above 30 at a minimum, you know, but I heard some people told me that the announcers were already saying, "Oh man," talking about cuts after one event. And it's like,
It was crazy. I was
relax.
getting so many messages on Instagram also, like, "Hey, look at your boy Pat, 35th. What's going on?" I'm like, "What are you guys talking about? It's one event. Like, have you never watched the games before? It's not 2019. It's gonna be okay."
Yeah, there's like 7 events is a lot of events, or like 9 events. Sorry. Um, I was not overly concerned, but I agree that, like you were saying, the other athletes you talked to after that first event, I could feel the sense of urgency, and I was like, well, that was really bad, and I can't wait to like do something a lot better, and just feel like you're showing a better version of yourself too, because of course it's a letdown personally when you bonk on events like that, right? So yeah,
And there's also
I'm not
this
worried
too.
about cuts, but yeah.
There's also this too. If you hadn't have come out, what did you come out 35th? The camera crew would have packed up 20 minutes earlier and moved on to the next event. I mean,
Probably.
Pat Vellner comes out of the water 35th, and you have fucking 10 cameras on you discussing your performance. Do you feel
That's
that
the
when
thing.
you
It's
come out of
always,
the water? Or are you like, Jesus Christ, give me a
I mean,
towel?
maybe a little. You're just like, I don't know, let's get out of here. Let's get on the bus. Like, it's
Right.
not like, there's a little bit of that. Like, I don't want to talk about it. Like, yeah, I know. Like, I already know. You don't need to ask me about it, right? And I actually didn't know what place I had finished in that event, but I knew it was, we're talking when I got into the kind of tent. And so people asked, and I was like, oh, I bet you bottom 5 is what I said. And so like I knew where I was at roughly, but when we finished event 2, that was like the first thing. Mike Arsenault did the interview on the floor, and the first thing he said was like, "So you finished 35th, and then you finished first." I was like, "Oh, thanks." It's just like, yeah, it's it's annoying, but I do it to myself, right? Like if I didn't want to hear that, I should just finish better in event 1.
You know it's bad if you get out of the water and someone goes, "Are you injured?"
Yeah.
That would be.
Yeah, a couple people asking, "Are you okay?" You're like, "I'm fine."
Pat, do you know what happened to Alexander Ilin? We're seeing he's in 38th place, and we don't see a score for him on the 4th event. Has anyone figured out what happened to him?
I don't know. I didn't. I wasn't actually aware of that, but
It says withdrawn actually in the 3rd event. There's a WD. I'm assuming that's what that means. Do you know what happened?
okay, so
Brian?
he didn't run.
Okay. Do you know what happened?
Yeah,
Brian?
he withdrew prior to that event. I have not heard anything about why. I'm pretty bummed about that because I was really happy that he was able to make it over, and obviously we barely get to see him.
Wow, no kidding. Hey, we've like all the Russians can't get visas, and the one that makes it withdraws after 2. That sucks. I saw him after the 2nd event, and I feel like I mean, I didn't like talk to him or anything, but I know I think that might have been the last time I saw him. Now that you mention it, there was a few like there's some people licking their wounds yesterday. It was a hard day. Like after the last event too, people had like some ice on the shoulders, and there was some people nursing a few things in the back after we finished with the wall walks. So
how does that day 1 stack up for you from a physical perspective compared to some of the others you've done?
it's hard to remember. I feel like it's like childbirth. Your brain like wipes it as soon as it's done.
You're gonna get in so much trouble for that. Too bad.
Yeah.
If we had any female listeners, you'd get destroyed for that, but we don't have any, so don't worry.
No, but I think you just kind of like forget it, and you usually remember the like kind of positive bits of it. But I mean, 2018 was hard, and that was one that was. I feel like it was pretty similar, like we had the crit was not a long race. I forget what it was exactly, but like a little bit around 20 minutes, maybe time domain. The marathon was like death by volume, and then the other 2 events were quite short. And yesterday felt kind of like that. The pig flip event wasn't that much volume. It was pretty fast. And then the sprint was nothing. It was a blink of an eye. It was not, you're not going to be sore from that as long as you don't like pull a hammy or something. And then, yeah, the paddle really, I feel like personally, like that's all I feel is like my little bit of like triceps and back from the paddle, and because of all the volume, and then a little bit of like my quads from the thrusters, and that's pretty much it. So it wasn't that bad of a beatdown. It felt like running around a lot. I think maybe the ranch day 1 in 2016 might have been the hardest day 1 that I've done. And that might be also be combined with the fact that we had to fly in and out, and then we got like delayed on the way back. Like, I don't know if you just felt more sore as a result of some of those things. It was a hard day one. I mean,
for me, I had watching the end of the final event, the fourth event last night. It seemed like there was a pretty good balance. Like some people seemed like they were in good spirits and okay, and others looked pretty beat up and devastated. And to me, it had a different feel than the end of 2018 day one after the marathon row, where almost everyone looked pretty defeated at that point.
yeah, yeah, that was a long, and I think that it's true. I think that was like a mental defeat a little bit as well, where you had spent so long on the rower, the volume got you down. You were like crampy, and you definitely you had run out of kind of mental bandwidth and emotional bandwidth, and people were a bit fed up by the end of that. But the rest of that day wasn't terrible. Like doing the total and doing 30 muscle ups for time is really not that much in terms of wear and tear or volume. But that one event alone and having it be at the end of the day was definitely a lot. We were joking about it like that. I think last time we had a day off, last time was probably 2018. And it was after that marathon row, and everybody really needed it. And there was just a hilarious amount of like posturing on the day off where people would go try to move their body around a little bit and shake off that row, and everyone would be kind of like, hey, how do you feel after yesterday? Oh, I feel great. I feel good. Like, no problem. How do you feel? And everybody kind of faking it. But that one was hard on the body for sure. You're not meant to sit on a rower like that for 3 hours.
Pat, are you going to do like a ton of recovery today? Will there be like an hour or two of just, I don't know, whatever you guys do, like those foam rollers or balls you push into your skin, or that gun that you guys pay $400 for that like hammers a muscle or something? Are you going to be doing a lot of that today?
I might do some of that lazy guy stuff this afternoon. I actually went and did a bit of biking, a bit of rowing.
This morning
earlier
already.
Before this, yeah, I went in and like biked and rode for kind of 20 minutes, and then I went and got some body work done. So I'm not doing too bad, and then I might just do a little bit of just stretching and maybe sit on the couch and watch the Olympics and Theragun myself, like do some little bit more lazy layup kind of stuff. But overall, I don't feel too bad. Like, I agree with some people that are saying, I'd like to get going. I can go today. I don't need the day off, but if I have it, I'll be happy to kind of spend it with some people and relax. Hang out with the baby.
How many Monster energy drinks have you drank?
Oh man, so many. They're water, right?
Right. But do they have the other stuff there? The stuff that like makes like your like hair stand on end?
Not that I've seen in any of like the athlete areas or the coolers that are on the field, but I actually find it really annoying because it's nice to have bottles with a cap, and like I can just take a water bottle with a cap, or I could put some whatever pre-workout in it and just use that water bottle or reuse it if I want. I feel like there's so many cans standing around everywhere, it kind of kills me. But you have to, you like crack these cans and then people drink half of them and leave them. I don't love the can thing. But
so EcoPat doesn't like the cans. It does look kind of fun to drink water out of a can.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a big canned water guy. Where I'm from, you just drink tap water. It's all good. It's fresh from the mountain springs,
Holy shit, tap water?
Yeah.
You'll grow a third eye, you drink that shit in the States.
But anyway, it's a different look. It feels funny to be drinking Monster cans like after an event.
I agree. It does look weird.
It is what it is. It's the only thing that's available is the thing. Like it's the only water that's around anywhere. So
if you could pour one on your head, that would be cool, because I really liked that when Jessica Griffith did that, because like at the time
I saw that.
We didn't even know that. We thought those were energy drinks, and I was like trying to process that in my head. I'm like, okay, she's so hot that she's willing to pour a sugar-free drink on her head. And the reason why I say sugar-free is because that way I guess it's not sticky. But I was tripping. But I thought it was just a baller move. But then I realized it was water, and I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it definitely is a good look. But I saw that video. Yeah, we'll see. My luck, I'll grab the wrong can, and I'll be sticky for like the whole day.
You'll turn orange and be sticky.
Yeah.
Tell the guy's there. The guy who does the representative for that, who's like, I follow him on Instagram because he's a UFC guy. Tell him for $1,000 you'll pour a bottle on your head. You'll pour a can on your head.
Next event I win.
Only take 3% for that idea.
Oh yeah, cool. Sounds like a good deal.
Who are you hanging with back there? Who are your new friends? Who are your old friends?
I don't know. I feel like a lot of it is. I was hanging with BKG a lot yesterday. I feel like yesterday when we were at the second warm up area, you just kind of get wherever you drop your bag, like the people that are next to you. So I was kind of by BK and Annie and Yana and Henrik Happelainen. So I was with a bunch of the Europeans for party yesterday.
You
Yeah,
like hanging
they're
with
all
people whose names are impossible to say, like Henrik
well,
Kapalainen?
they're all vaccinated, so I know it's safe in that corner.
You're a good dude. You're a good dude. Do you really do that? Do you ask the guys? Are you like, yo, Danielle, get away from me. You're not vaccinated.
It's been kind of like vague conversation over the last few days because it's just, I feel like that's just world conversation these days.
Right.
So there's a little bit of, and I don't know. I think that the way the whole stadium's filled up and the warm up area is chaos. I'm trying to be a little careful because I gotta take a PCR test on Saturday in order to get home.
Right.
So if I gotta make sure I pass my test so I can actually go home and I don't spend 2 weeks in a hotel here.
Yeah, is that really your primary concern, that you're not too worried about not necessarily getting it, but you just don't want to be away from your baby for 2 weeks when you get home?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, it'd be a waste of time and money to stay here for 2 weeks after the games and just sit in a hotel.
You'd
So
have to stay
I'm
here.
not
You'd
overly
have to stay
concerned that
here.
I'd be super sick. Yeah. Yeah, I won't let you get on a plane if you're sick or if you're infectious.
You can come stay at my place. I'll put you up.
Oh God.
Throw me in a room somewhere.
Oh God.
Appreciate it, Brian.
You would wake up every morning with Brian cuddling you. You'd be just
No. I might just leave a bowl of oatmeal outside his door.
Oh, nice. Gruel. Please, sir.
Is it a different vibe with Matt being gone, or is it just the same shit? Just lions in a cage waiting to go?
I'd say it's kind of similar. Like, I don't think that there's a big difference. Like, people are here to win, like everybody is every year. Even if it's not, the years where Matt was very dominant, like even if by the end of the week you knew you weren't going to win the games, you still are trying to get your wins on the various events, or, what constitutes a win changes, maybe by the end of the weekend, maybe person to person as like things develop. So you're trying to shoot your shots and get in points when you can. And so it's still a lot of the same, people are kind of posturing on each other and trying to figure things out and figure out where everybody sits and earn points where they can. So it's fun. There's still a little bit of playful banter in the back between events, and I like it. Like it tends to be pretty light up until it's time to kind of warm up, and then people start to kind of turn on. So it's cool. Like I've spent lots of time chatting with guys like Travis and Chandler and Noah still, and Brent. So it's good. I feel like there's less people in where our lockers are. We used to have like recliners and stuff back there, and there isn't any of that anymore. So there's been a little bit less kind of lounging in the back. And we didn't have that much time to lounge yesterday. We were pretty much on call all day. They were lining us up at some point, or you had 10 minutes to be here, and then you had to be in another line. And there was a lot of hurry up and wait yesterday. So, but it's fun. It's been cool.
Tell me about my boy Travis Mayer. Give me a little scoop on it. How's he doing? He's sitting in 22nd. Right. He's okay. You didn't see him.
I saw him on the screen last night on the last event, and he looked like he was laying on the ground a lot. But
not what I wanted to hear.
So I don't know.
Well, if he was to be fair, depending on when you looked, everyone was laying on the ground.
Yeah, it's fair. I don't know if he was loving the wall walks, but I don't think he was alone. I think he's doing good. Man, the guy's got 4 kids. Actually, I was talking to him the other day, and we were just talking about kids and babies and stuff. And I was just talking about family, and I forget what the comment was, but I thought that he was like at least my age or maybe older, and I realized I was a year older than him. And I was like, man, he was making some old man comments about himself, and I was like, dude, I'm older than you. Relax.
How
I
old?
I didn't realize I had seniority over Travis Mayer with his 4 kids.
Yeah,
it was like surprising to me. But he's fair. He said, each kid adds like 2 years. So,
how old are you?
I'm 31.
Yeah, he's pretty hardcore religious. I don't think they use contraception. I think that's why religion's so popular. Actually,
maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
Hey, Pat,
but
it's one of the
yeah, he's got more highway miles. I've got like city miles on.
Pat, do you know who Susan Clark is?
the name rings a bell. She's a Masters athlete, is she not? Isn't she like a dominant Masters athlete? And like, what age group is she?
Well, it's hard to know the age groups. Susan Clark is a Canadian woman. She competed at the games this year in the women's 60 to 64 age division. She won her division. I'm updating the script for the age group ceremonies right now. She won her division, and this is now her fifth. She's 5 for 5 career championships at the CrossFit Games. It's the most dominant record anyone's ever had. She's undefeated at the games, and she's Canadian.
Wow.
Look out, Matt Fraser.
I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna say something not nice about the Masters right now, and I've really learned to like the Masters. But this morning I was watching the 65 plus, and they were trying to do double unders, and I swear to God, it looked like satire. I swear to God, it was. Just,
Were they on? They were on the turf though, weren't they?
I guess, but they're all lined up.
Go try to do double unders on the grass for me, quick, Sevan.
It's bad.
Actually,
and then come back inside and apologize.
It can still look like satire, though. It was crazy.
It looked interesting, but I was talking to one of the guys from the Masters 35 to 39 division who looked just like he was more frustrated than he'd ever been in a workout trying to do double unders on the turf. And he goes, oh my gosh, I did unbroken 21.1 double unders, which ended with 210 in a row. He said, I've never had a harder time doing double unders than I did today.
Then I'm gonna.
Was it a heavy rope or was it just the normal rope?
He told me he likes to jump low and spin his row fast, and sitting you jump high and spin your row a little slower because the grass was like the turf was kind of dragging it. So I think it was a normal rope. It was like the total opposite of how he usually does them.
The turf is quite soft too. All of the athletes for the individuals were talking about it yesterday when we were doing the sprint. That when you went from road to grass, it was like you slowed down a lot. Like you felt like you didn't get the same kind of ground reaction in your stride. So it felt weird. You could really feel the surface difference, and it's like it absorbed a bunch of your energy. So I could see you doing double unders on that. Like it would be a different kind of feeling, like this soft ground, and then the grass, like the turf that sticks up, kind of trying to grab your rope. I could see it being hard, and you have to be very good at changing your technique in order to do it.
Okay, well, I'll ask Dave tonight if that was just a practical joke on them, because man, for a guy who's really interested in the spectacle, man, it was a shit show. It looked like it looked like a 3-year-old trying to catch a butterfly with a net. I mean, it was just it was ridiculous. I felt bad for them even.
The Canadians are doing well in the Masters divisions, Pat.
Nice. Good. I'm glad we're having representation. We're not doing so bad in the individual divisions right now. I think Emma Lawson's winning the 16-17 as well.
That's right. And I have I wouldn't say it's a bet, but I had a proposition to your friend Nate Edwardson the other day. I was talking to him and I said, what do you think? Can all 6 Canadian men in the individual field make the cut? I think that would be pretty impressive if they did it. And I think it can happen.
All 6 Canadian men. So it's Brandt and I, Vigneault, Caron, Cournoyer, and Adler. Oh yeah, I think we can all make top 20.
Yeah, it's
who's
very
outside right now?
I'm not looking at the leaderboard. I think Adler might be like 21 or 22. Vigneault's definitely in 13th or 14th. Cournoyer is 10, and I'm not sure where Caron is.
Yeah, we could.
We got a comment saying I should respect the Masters, and then I looked to see who it's coming from, and it's my mom.
Perfect.
She's one of our 12 listeners. Pat, you talked about this killer instinct, and I want to get to that. But first, I want to ask about your mindset coming to the games. Do you have rules for yourself, during this week? Like if you turned around right now when the podcast was over and your wife was changing the baby's diaper, on the outfit you're gonna wear tomorrow, would you snap, or do you what's your mindset? Or if you made a cup of coffee right before you were about to walk out of the house and she had poured it out and cleaned the cup or something, how are you? Are you on edge, or do you talk to yourself before and you're like, fucking nut, I can't let anything bug me this week?
I think it's hard to not be a little on edge, but I try my best to compartmentalize things, and I always do that when it comes to my life in CrossFit. So I try to, when I leave the stadium, not be thinking too much about it and and leave that there. And even like when we went yesterday, I brought most of my gear there and like left it at the locker and stuff like that. So when I come home, I'm not like surrounded by my stuff and things like that. Like my jerseys are there, my stuff is there. Like I go to the venue and then I'm in competition mode and I'm there for the whole day. And then when I come home, it's like you're not competition pad anymore. And it's hard to avoid it. Like you come home and I talk to my folks and you kind of recap the day and they watch and they want to talk about it. And that's great. But at least that time you're kind of spending with them. And I try my best to do that. I don't think I do it perfectly, but I think it's important to like try to leave that there. Cause otherwise it's just, I don't know, it feels borderline abusive if you're kind of like a tyrant for everybody around you for like a whole week. Because it's hard enough like months leading into the games when it's like all about you and your training and things like that, and then it's all about you still, and it's all about it. It's just like I really try to avoid that as much as I can because I think it's not a good version of me that I like. So
Right.
yeah, I don't think, and if I don't like it, I'm sure everybody else doesn't like it either.
And honestly, in the long run, it's just a waste of energy too, right?
That's kind of how I feel about it. Like I said
Fighting with reality.
about like the days and like the lay day and stuff like that. It's just like, look, you could be turned on all day today, like focused up, dialed, but for what? Like I don't think it's like you might as well take the time and try to relax and regroup and spend some time with people that you might not be able to see a lot of for the next 2 days or 3 days. Um, and I think, yeah, it's hard when you're in it to realize that, I think sometimes. So I think part of that might come from having been here a few times that I know it's like, all right, you're going to wish maybe you enjoyed parts of this a little more or did things a little differently when you're gone. So it's fun. It's fun to be able to share it with the people that kind of help make it possible and support you. Right.
Exactly. What do you think about Jason Hopper's performance, or do you think about it?
I talked to him a couple times yesterday. Like I checked in on him a couple times, just like, yeah, how's it going? How's that one? And I don't know. I didn't see how he did most of the day. I think he did reasonably well on this first event, and I think he did reasonably well on the third event. I think he got a bit of a punch in the second one and the last one.
Yes.
But I don't know. I think that's fine. It's a long weekend. It's the first day. Like, I think he got hit with a couple things that he knew he was not great at, and probably I'm sure he's happy with his event one. I think if he thought he was going to come in here and bully all the men's field, he came in with the wrong idea. But everybody, like, it's hard not to be disappointed when you don't finish high, and especially when that's been his experience so far, right? I think it can be a little bit of like a crash landing back down to earth when you're like, holy shit, there's 30 other guys here who are just like me, right? And like, or they're better at some stuff, maybe worse at some stuff, but it's tough. And we did some weird stuff yesterday. Like, I'm sure he didn't go in thinking he was going to do a bunch of wall walks, and he'd probably be the first to tell you that it's not his favorite movement. And I talked to him a bit I think maybe after the sprint, but he like 48 muscle ups in a row for a big guy like that. Like, I'm sure that's not the role he wanted, right? And I'm sure he didn't struggle at all on the pig and the sled, I bet. But when you got to do all those things in a row, it's tough. So I think he's doing fine, and he needs to, if he's down on himself at all, he needs to kind of shake it off, because there's 5 events tomorrow, and that's a lot of work, and I'm sure he'll be great at a lot of them. And he might still take a couple punches this weekend, and that's totally fine. Like I said, take it from me, like you can be fine if you bonk on a few events. It's not the end of the world. So I'm sure he's doing great. It's his first year here, and not that means you get a free pass to just be blasé about poor performances, but I think it's a reality check for everybody when they first come to the games, that sometimes you're a big fish in a small pond, and then sometimes you show up and it's like it can be alarming when suddenly you break through the ceiling and like now you're back on the ground level of the next floor, and you're just kind of like, oh shit, there's a bunch of other guys who are really, really good, and those are your peers, right? And that's what the competition is going to be like. So you'll trade punches all weekend, and you just got to get it in when you can.
they keep you guys very close to each other the whole week, the whole event. At least they used to when I used to have access back there. Like it's just all you guys, you know, in a close area. You're either in the corrals together, you're either both grabbing for the same plate at the same time during warm up. You guys pass each other. You're sitting on bikes next to each other. Ice baths. I mean, it's a pretty tight area. In Carson, it was, I don't know, let's say 5,000 square feet, and you guys are all packed in there. To you guys, is it like palatable? It's like, do you realize, oh, holy shit, this isn't like my 3 training partners at my affiliate with 20 regular people around us? Like, are you guys all aware? Like, is it a really unique experience to be a top athlete and then just be surrounded by people? Everyone's nipping at everyone's heels. It's like 40 bears trying, or 40 bulls trying to mate with one cow. Do you feel that?
I don't know. I kind of think it's cool. And I mean, at this point, I know most of the people, but it's fun because you're like, you know, you're warming up and it's like, oh my God, hey, there's BKG or Noah Olson, and like guys that I've known for years, but like, you know that they're very good. And especially in this last while where like the only thing you've seen of people is maybe what's on their social media for like the last year. So it's cool. And I still feel that way when you see new guys come up, and like a guy like Hopper that was stellar earlier in the season, but I've never seen much of them, right? So it's like you watch people warm up a little bit and pay attention to what people do and how they behave and what their general affect and demeanor is. I think it's fun, and I don't ever train with people. I'm by myself pretty much all the time. So I think it's kind of cool and energizing to have a lot of that high caliber athlete and experience in one place. And yeah, so I kind of think it's cool. And I think everybody's always sizing each other up and trying to figure out when we're warming up for the next event, like, okay, who's going to be threatening, who's going to be what, like, so I think it's part of the game, and I think it's really cool. It's a cool energy that's packed into those areas when you have all the best CrossFitters in the world in one place.
Ricardo, thank you so much. What a kind donation of $30. Ricardo Garcia. We'll split that one with you, Pat. That's a big one. $30.
Nice.
$10 each. What about Colton Mertens? Have you stood next to? I think you should stand next to him. And
I've talked to him a couple of times.
Yeah, you talked to him. Did he talk?
A little bit. He's a pretty soft-spoken dude.
Yeah.
He passed me on the paddle.
Oh, that's awesome! I love it. Did he say anything to you, like eat a dick or like? No.
Just sort of shook his hair out.
One of my favorite CrossFit Games stories is when Emily Abbott was, I don't know what run it was, but she was running and she passed Josh Bridges and talked some shit to him.
Yeah.
Have you heard any shit talking out there?
I think it's always kind of tongue in cheek, right? Like people maybe give somebody a little ribbing, but it's not, nobody's like actually trying to fucking rile someone up. So it's always a little bit of that. I do it to people all the time, and just kind of like, you know, whatever it is, if you're just like starting before the wall walks and you're just like, you know, you guys gonna do singles on the thrusters or what? Or like go unbroken? Are you gonna go touch and go wall walks? And then people just kind of like, what the fuck? And just like throw little things in that make people think like, what's going on? Like, wait a minute, am I thinking about this all wrong? Or
does anyone ever respond that you're like, you can go touch and wall box? You're like, yeah, first 5, but then after that I'll slow it down. And you're like, oh, does that ever come back at you?
All the time, yeah. People are like, again, I think it's kind of just fun banter. Like people are, you know, I think that conversation was with Sean Sweeney, I think, and like Paulson maybe. So he's like all over it, right? So it's fun to do that, and I think it keeps I think I'm a little bit aware of who you do that to, though. Like I think there's some athletes that know me a little more or have that similar kind of sense of humor, and some people when they get stressed or in game mode, they want to like shut everybody out and focus up, and I respect that, and I generally won't bother them too much. But you know, I kind of try to keep it light, and it makes me feel a little bit more relaxed and prepared. So, and some other people are exactly like that. So you find those people and you maybe throw a few jokes out, but it's, yeah, I occasionally will give somebody one in the corrals and when they're focused in. Like I used to do that to Matt all the time when he was just dialed in. And I thought it was
it's so
funny, and I'm sure he
tempting.
didn't. I'm sure he didn't think it exactly right. It's like, what an easy target.
Yeah, it's like a really still pond, and there's a bunch of people standing around meditating, and you're like, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna throw a rock in there. I just can't. I just have to. It's like. I think it's a great post. This is coming from the former executive director of CrossFit Media. Some advised this to you, Pat. I think it would be good if you stood next to Colton Mertens and then even stood like on a couple plates and put your arm around him and then framed it so like your feet weren't in the shot, so it looked like you were even taller than him, and took the picture. And then like with some catchy post like I love competition, or just really, really, I think it would blow up. Just
Maybe we got to get Brent to do it. That's what you need.
Yes, Brent. That would be awesome.
They were standing next to each other when we were sizing our yokes on like Monday.
They were in
the
lanes next to each other for event 2 also. So as they took the
were
field,
they?
they were right side by side in lane whatever lanes they were in.
He's so awesome. People need to be just working him in social media. He's so awesome, and he's so soft spoken, but he's a savage under there. He's soft spoken like a lion, man.
I thought he might crush that last event yesterday, because he's like on a barbell, like for a heavy thruster like that, he can move fast. So I thought he would just eat those thrusters up. And then I wasn't sure. I think the wall walks were harder for the smaller athletes because we had one standard distance.
You want to tell him, Sevan, or me?
Yeah, go ahead and tell him. He was going to crush that. He was going to take second. Go ahead, Brian. Tell him what happened.
He would have finished in the top 5. He cramped up in the round of 7. And the wall walks, he couldn't. And it was on the wall walks, actually. He said he had to do them with straight legs. Like if he bent his legs, his hamstrings were just seizing. And so he had to slow way down. I think it legitimately cost him 2 minutes in the workout.
The video footage was crazy. Like he couldn't even walk from the wall walks to the bar. It looked like he was on stilts. Like his legs were perfectly straight, maybe even looked like they were, what is that, hyperextended? Like it looked like his knee was bending backwards, and then he would waddle over to the thruster. But
I thought that's just how he walked. his legs are like as wide as they are long. He's like he's got thick legs, that guy.
Dude,
that's too bad. I didn't watch all of that heat, and I think that really when we're watching the footage, they just are showing the leaders. So I saw a lot of Scott Panchik doing thrusters, but not a lot of anybody else. So
I got a fun stat for you here.
All right.
Do you know the guys Fantasy Fitnessing on Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do a lot of good work and cool stuff. So they put a thing up a few minutes ago. It says, Pat Vellner, with 11 events remaining in his career at the CrossFit Games. 2016, 10th place. 2017, 25th place. 2008, 8th place. 2021, 5th place.
So I'm in a better position than I've ever been, is what you're saying.
That's right.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Thought you'd like that. And I wanted to acknowledge them. They do a lot of cool stuff. If you haven't ever checked them out, they're always putting up good stats about the athletes in the competitive field.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I know. I mean, I know what I have to do for the rest of the weekend, and it's a whole lot of what I did in events 2, 3, and 4, and not a lot of what I did in event 1. So it's pretty simple.
Pat, we interviewed Scott Panchik yesterday, and it was so freaking cool. He basically said on the drive down to the games, he decided he was going to retire. And when he decided he was going to retire, this like massive relief came over him. Like, oh. And he was so eloquent in describing it. I wish I could remember some exact quotes. But one of the things he said was in that workout, in that thruster wall walk workout that he won, he basically said, I said, did you know you were going to break them? Did you know that you weren't going to break them up? And he goes, yeah, that was part of the thing of just retiring. Since I've retired, it's almost like there's no strategy anymore. The strategy's out the door. He said prior to thinking, like if he hadn't decided he was going to retire on the way down, he would have used strategy. And I go, well, how did you know you didn't think that you were ever going to put the bar down or rest? And he goes, no, I just figured that if I fail, I was going to go until I failed a rep. That's where my mind is now that I'm going to retire. So it's just go out there and fucking just throw a fucking brick on the gas pedal and go. And it's interesting. It becomes really apparent of his different mindset than like speaking with you or with some of the other athletes we talk about who are still in that strategy mode, right? But he's sort of just like, hey, I'm just going to burn it down now. And he's injured. So he's really, really injured bad.
Yeah,
And
we
so
gave him a hard time about that. He was all complaining about his knee, and then he went and did 55 thrusters at 185. And we were like, hey, Scott, sounds like your knee's not doing so bad.
Well, one of the commentators pointed this out, and it was really a trip. They said, hey, notice every time Scott Panchik lowers the bar to his front rack, his whole body shakes and would vibrate. And I asked him about that, and he goes, yeah, that's my knee. Like it's basically like he's on a working with a coffee table with a loose leg, right?
Yeah.
And I go, so what's going to happen this week? He goes, I have no idea. He goes, in the sprint, I had no idea what was going to happen. He goes, I know that I tried to take off as hard as I could, and 4 steps in, it was just like, uh-oh, one of my legs isn't working.
Yeah. It's an interesting way to compete. Like I talked to him a bit about it last night, and like I say, we were ribbing him a bit after the event, but when there's no pressure in a situation like that, right?
Right.
And I think he's kind of released himself from that, and everybody kind of thinks of Scott as like this 4th to 6th place, like no matter what, no matter when, doesn't matter. Like he'll always be like a top 5-ish guy all the time. And I don't think he feels any pressure to do that anymore. He's happy with his career and happy with what he's done. And we were talking a bit last night, and he's saying with his knee, it's like every event, it could be it. Like he doesn't know, like, especially this year where we don't have much information about the next events. It's like, you take the floor, you do it as hard as you can. Cause I don't know when the next event comes out, maybe I can't even do it. Like it could be over. And I had a similar experience when I was in 2016, when I hurt my arm in the regional and tore my bicep. And it was kind of like I had the medical team hovering around me all weekend, like ready to withdraw me if I even made a face. So it was like every time I took the floor, I was like, well, this might be the last event, so might as well just like give a shit. And then the next event was like, maybe I'm going to be able to do it, maybe I'm not going to be able to do it. So you warm up, and then you just did whatever you could do. And so knowing that you weren't looking at the long game, like I'm not looking at the 15 events, I'm looking at like the next one, and that's really all you're focused on. And it's actually probably the best way to compete, but it's hard not to do that and like extrapolate forward when you know that that's what you're competing for. And I think in his situation, that's just where you're at. He knows that like this could be it. Every event, it could be it, and I don't know. So we'll just take it on one at a time and do your best. And I think it's cool. I'm glad he's doing that because it's sweet. I talked to him a bit about him retiring, and he told me the same thing, that he had decided, and he had to kind of put it out there because he figured if he made it to the end of the weekend before he made that decision, he wouldn't make it. He'd get to the end of the weekend and say, one more ride. But it's cool. So I'm glad he's like I said, we gave him some shit because he couldn't run, but then all of a sudden he could do all these thrusters, and he's like, man, I don't know, it felt how it felt, and I just went for it, and it is what it is. So it's cool. I'm glad he's able to do that now and take the governor off and maybe win some events. And who knows, like he might blow up in a ball of fire on a couple events, and he might win a couple more. Like, I don't know, right? And I don't think he does either. So it's kind of cool to see.
He may carry his leg off.
I mean, I hope it's not that he goes down with an injury, but it could just be that when you go out with reckless abandon, your strategy blows up in your face. So we'll see. But I think it's really cool to see him. Even, he doesn't win a lot of events either, right? So it was cool to see him win one, especially if it's going to be his last year. And maybe, like I said, we see
it was only his second career event win. It's been since 2012.
Yeah, so awesome. That's so awesome.
It is. I will tell you, it is a little sad. He's a staple, right? And so, like when Matt retired, it's like, oh, the champ's gone. But for some reason, I didn't mourn it as much as like thinking that Scott won't be back. I mean, I know everyone has a shelf life, but he, like you said, he's a staple. He's a guy up there that can ruin some people's days.
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like he's the guy that's just always there. He's just reliable, right? Yeah. And I feel like every year you kind of almost forget about him because it's just that reliable. He just shows up every day, does the same thing, and it's like, yeah, at the end of the weekend, Scott's, yeah, he's in 5th. All right, it makes sense. And everybody talks about contenders and podium threats and whatever, and he's just so often overlooked, but he's always that guy. So it will be It'll be different when he's not there for sure.
Do you know what Event 5 is?
We don't know the details. We know it's the rope climb, ski, and sandbag carry, but we don't know the distance of the carry or the weight of the carry,
or the variety of the rope climb.
Yeah.
And is that bag you carry? Is that Hesseldorf? Husefeld?
Yeah, the kind of triangular one, the strongman one. I think so.
That they kind of took over the name of it instead of they're calling it the cheddar.
Yeah, what in Wisconsin.
And you don't know what event 6 and 7 are, right?
No, I think we know that they're back to back, but that's it.
Do you think there's going to be a bike in the games this year?
Oh, maybe. I feel like every year there's been a bike.
What kind of bike do you mean?
I've crashed it.
Like a bike, like with 2 wheels, and like you pedal around.
Like not a C2 bike, but an actual road bike or mountain bike.
Yeah, is there going to be a road bike that Pat can run over Brandon Luckett?
Brandon?
Yeah.
I already warned him. I told him I told him if there is another one, I'm going to finish the job.
Dude, I watched that clip like 100 times prior to interviewing him. Man, you were like the drunk guy that switched like 6 lanes at once as you came around that turn to avoid that corner.
Well, it's because I got clipped by another rider from the other side. So somebody had cut me off and clipped my front wheel, and it sent me over the left really hard. That's why it's such an aggressive like zip across all of a sudden. Is that I got clipped on my front wheel as somebody else merged in front of me. And so they just turned me, and then I fucking was gone. I went straight into the side of them.
I don't know if it's true, but supposedly they didn't even show that in the CrossFit Games broadcast. But if anyone wants to see that, go over to Brandon Luckett's Instagram. You should steal that. And
there was a couple videos of it. I've seen a couple angles of it that are. Oh yeah, because the way I went into him, it basically like my spokes kind of went like right into his wheel, and so my gear, like my whole derailleur, just ripped right off the bike. So I was just then like I had nothing. My feet were
that
still
took
clipped
you
in.
out too?
Yeah. So my feet were still clipped in, but I just like my whole gear shift was gone off the bike. So, but because it went into his tire, he like flipped straight over the handlebars. Like I got off so easy. Like I got clipped on the tire, then I went into him, and I kind of like bounced, but was still upright. And then I just like I was spinning into nothing because my gears weren't attached. So I had to unclip and run my bike to the mechanic station. And then he like was basically the same, picked himself up and went to the mechanic station. So I had to get a brand new bike that was like it was just like not set for me. It was just like a super low seat and whatever. But yeah, it was like, wow, that's funny. I didn't know it was him that I hit. Like later on we were riding and we were riding together for like most of the race. And it was just like, it happens so fast. And you just like, immediately I just picked up and tried to ride, and I was like, I just have to get to somewhere. And I just like started running, just like running away from the scene of the crime. Right. But, yeah, that was epic. But I think that, and in 2017, when we did cyclocross too, I had a collision with, Street Horner, I think. Street. And we both went head over heels on that one. And it was like, you weren't clipped into those, and we were on grass. So it was significantly less and there wasn't such a big pack of riders. So it wasn't as big a deal. It wasn't as dramatic as the one with Brandon, but the video is intense. I'm glad he was like not more hurt, because he got a little road rash, but he didn't like break his collarbone or anything, because he went over pretty hard.
Yeah, he was agile like a cat. I think the way he tells the story too is that neither of you knew who you had hit, but until long after. But the irony is that since both of you were in the back, you guys teamed up and made a plan to draft off each other to catch the pack.
Yeah, totally.
Like, well, that's kind of cool.
We were like, because we were basically, if not last, if somebody else might have got caught in that. But in the end, I think he caught up another 1 or 2 riders other than me. But I ended up 36th, and he would have been like 35th or 34th or something. But we just rode together for like the whole race, and like we didn't have a pack, so we had significantly less draft potential. But we tried to just alternate lead and ride for a while, and we caught up like 4 or 5 riders. There was like a trailing pack that we passed, so that felt good.
Did Street Horner end up winning that heat that you guys crashed in?
No.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I thought he was the one who was the really good bike rider.
No, I don't know who won in ours that year. Because I think it was, I don't even remember how many heats we had, honestly. I think it was maybe 4 heats of 10. But
Has Ricky reached out to you and wished you luck this week?
No.
How
That's all right,
about?
though.
Yeah, he knows. He's watching closely. Have you spoken with Justin Medeiros at all?
Yeah, I sat next to him on the bus on the way back from the lake on Tuesday.
Did you tell him to get a haircut?
No. I told him to trim the sides higher. Start growing out his back hair.
That would be good. He's too young to have back hair.
I know.
Is there anything else you would like to say to one of your favorite athletes of all time? By the way, thank you for bringing up Susan Clark. That was really cool. That's amazing. We got to get her on the show.
It's pretty epic. Did she like win every event, or like was it a runaway?
The last time she was at the game, she was 7 for 7 in event wins. This time, I think she won 5 out of 7.
So she has won the games one year without losing a single event.
Yeah, I mean, for her division, she's the most, or divisions, because she ages up every so often. She's the most dominant CrossFit athlete I've ever seen.
Wow,
that's awesome. Make sure that everybody knows that when people start talking about Tia and Matt, and like, throw Susan out there. Be like, actually, they're not the most dominant. Susan is the most dominant.
Tia, Matt, and Susan.
When we do our all-time top 10 men and women combined, Susan Clark will be the top of the pile.
Next time somebody asks you that question, like, who's your Mount Rushmore of CrossFit? You're like, like Matt, Tia, Rich, Susan Clark.
And Susan Clark, that's right.
Blow everyone's mind with her stats. That's wild. That's very impressive.
Yeah, she's awesome, and she's been. She doesn't compete every year. She'll take a year or two off. She'll come back, but
that's even better.
And
she just shows up now and then and is like, I'll take another one. When the kids get too rowdy, she just comes in and she's like, someone else gets too wise, so she comes up and is like, no, remember who's in charge here.
I've got it here. She won. So she won.
Do that.
She won in 3 years, 2014, 15, 16. Then she took off 17, 18, won in 19. Last year there was no Masters, and she won this year.
Oh, unless is she strategically avoiding the years where she's the oldest in the age group?
I don't know why she didn't compete in 17, 18. It could be, but who knows?
I kind of doubt it. I'm just saying.
I'm sure it was just whatever was going on in her life, and you never know. When you're, because she's been at least 55 all of those years, like it's a pretty big toll on the body to come back and train for that year after year after year.
You don't need to tell Pat that.
He's not 55 yet.
Right. I think it's just her how she cycles on and off.
Oh boy.
That's a joke, people. That's a joke, for crying out loud. Sorry, one other question. It looks like from the little bit that I've seen, when Tia wins, she's just basically she immediately leaves the play of field. Does she seem pretty isolated to you? Have you seen her around? Have you chatted with her?
She's staying across the hall from us.
Okay.
I haven't seen her much, but I don't know. I chatted with her a bit before we started. I feel like since competition's been on, I haven't really seen her much. I think she kind of does her own thing, but her folks are here as well, so she's spent some time with them, I think.
Have you thought about banging on her door at 3 a.m. and then running back into your room?
We just had the baby cry. We just let the baby cry all night.
Sevan, I think she'll stay around if she knows she's going to do the interview afterwards, but otherwise, I think there's a lot going on yesterday, and it was hot outside in the afternoon, so.
One of those events that was in the, I don't know what you call it, the North Park or wherever, I can't even remember which event it was, but literally she won, and then the camera followed her just straight out of the stadium.
Probably the sprint, because I think they basically made us leave immediately because the next heat was coming so fast.
I don't think was there another event in there in the North?
Well, the other one was the pig flip one, but I think she stayed and did the interview after that one.
Okay.
But the sprint one, because they went in heats, they don't know if you won right away. So I don't know. I guess she did win the sprint too, and she was in the last heat. So I don't know. I think they caught Haley Adams after that because Tia had already won 2 events. They'd already talked to her twice that day, so I think they wanted to talk to Haley. Share the wealth, yeah, maybe.
Have you been tested at all there, Pat, for drugs, or do they just wait till the end?
No, they do some random selections throughout the weekend. I haven't been randomly selected. I think it, I think it kind of depends. I know they test the top 5, I believe, every year, no matter what, at the end. So I think part of it might be strategic in the way that they select their random ones. Like, you probably wouldn't want to randomly select someone who you think is a favorite to finish in the top 5 somewhere, because you're going to test them anyways. So it would be
Okay.
like you'd be like redundant testing. Like, you might as well, instead of testing the same person twice in a weekend, because it costs money to test, you might as well test more people. So I think they tend to like, and I think sometimes it happens after things like whoever wins the 1 rep max snatch might be walking out into a randomly selected drug test. You know what I mean? I think there's a little bit of that goes on sometimes. So
Or if you have
I haven't been
a
yet,
vein
but
that's as thick as a king cobra on your forehead or your bicep, you get the test.
yeah. So I haven't yet, but it wouldn't surprise me if I see one before I leave here.
Okay. Well, I hope you get tested. That's always a good sign if you get tested after the event.
Yeah, that's right. It's a compliment.
Yeah. And it means you're in the top 5, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'll try to stay there for the rest of the weekend. No more big bonks.
All right, man. Thank you. That was a long one you gave us. Really appreciate it.
No worries.
Thanks for keeping us relevant.
Likewise.
Cheers. If there's anything you need, Brian has got a lot of free time on his hand. He can run you over a sandwich, a pair of shoes. He'll run to the store and get you diapers, any of that shit. I'm not joking.
Here,
That's
hang
not a
on.
joke.